Now, to change the logic for adding cart items, we need to head back to the cart provider and there to the cart reducer. At the moment, items are always added as new items in that array. Now that needs to change. When we're adding an item, I always want to calculate my updated total amount like this first. That is always correct, no matter if the item is already part of the cart or not. But then, before I derive my updated items, I instead want to check if an item is already part of the cart. And for this, I'll create an existing cart item index constant where I will reach out to my existing items in the cart and where I call findIndex, which is a built-in method in JavaScript which finds the index of an item in an array. Now it takes a function which should return true if that's the item we're looking for and false otherwise, because this function will be executed for every item in the array. And I want to return true if item ID is equal to action.item.id. So if the item we're currently looking at in that array has the same ID as the item we're adding with this action, which was dispatched. Now this will then return us the index of that item if it exists. So what we can do now is we can get the existing cart item by reaching out to state items and accessing that existing cart item index. And this will only work if we have that item already. Otherwise, we'll try to access an item which doesn't exist, and hence existing cart item would be null. If the item already is part of the array though, this item will be set to that item. And now we can add an updated item variable and an updated items variable, which clashes with this constant, but we'll fix this soon. And then we add another if check here, where we check if existing cart item is a thing, if this is truthy, which will only be the case if it's already part of the array. In this case, the updated item will be set equal to a new object where I copy the existing cart item, but where I update the amount, because the amount now needs to change. If sushi was already part of the cart and we added 2 more sushis, then of course we need to update the amount of that existing sushi which is part of the cart. So here I then access existing cart item.amount plus action.item.amount. So the amount which was added by this action. And updated items is now equal to a new array where I copy the existing items so that I update this immutably without editing the old array in memory. Hence, I'm creating a new array where I copy the old objects. And then for that existing cart item index, I override this with the updated item. So I pick the old item, which we identified in the cart items array, and I override it with this updated item. Now that's what I do if an item is already part of the cart items array. Now we also have the else case that an item is added for the first time to that cart items array. In that case, the updated item is simply a brand new item where I copy my action item. And now updated items is simply set to state items concat, and then here I add this updated item. Or we keep this simpler and we keep on adding action item. We don't set updated item here, and we move updated item in here therefore and create this on the fly as a constant, because now we only use updated item in that first part of the if block. And our else block is very lean now. With that, we set updated items to different things, depending on whether the item is already part of the array or not. And either way, we then return our new state snapshot, which picks up these updated items. I hope this logic makes sense. And with that, if we now reload, I can add sushi. And if I add it multiple times, and if I add 4 sushi at once, you see we only have one entry here with the appropriate amount. And that's exactly what I want. Now, if I add a second item, this is added as a new entry, of course, because it's a different item. But then again, if I add more items of that, it just increases the counter. So that is working. Now let's make sure that the plus and minus buttons here in the cart also work. And for that, we also need to make sure that we can remove items.